Hey folks, welcome to another video on the 67Stang channel. So now that we've got the floors done, back seat in and all that, we're ready to kind of get back on reassembling the other parts of the interior. And that includes finishing up the wiring. You've seen the previous videos where I started putting that American Auto Wire new wire harness in. And it got all that run, but there's still a lot of little things to button up. And one of those is going to be the wire harness here on the steering column. So today I'm going to try to get that replaced, and that's going to require me to pull the steering wheel off, which honestly I wish I had done earlier. With all the work I've been doing, it would have been a lot easier without the steering wheel in the way. Part of my problem is that to do the steering wheel you got to have a tool, a steering wheel puller, which is what, oops, let's see if I can bring this over without it spilling everywhere, which is what I have right here. Right, it's a kit that'll pull help pull the steering wheel off. I'll show you how to use this when we get to that part. So let me tell you about what I've done so far. I'm going to try to get out of the way and so you can see things a little bit better. So I'm going to slide back here in the car a little bit. Okay, so hopefully you can see the steering wheel here. I don't know if you can see me, but you know, originally this part was in the center. I've already pulled it off. It's just simply twisting it, and you'll feel it unlock and you pull off. There's actually a spring under here that I've already taken care of. Do that. Now before you do any of this, before you start monkeying with this, disconnect your battery. Remember, there's the horn in here, there's the blinkers and all that are in here. All of that is connected to the electrical power of the system, and you don't want to short anything out or cause problems. So disconnect the battery before you start that. Once you get that off, then you need to come in. There's a main bolt here. It happens to be I think it's a 15/16. You verify that by looking at my site. Yeah, 15/16. And again, I've already loosened this up already. So it came off pretty easy. You may have to use some PB Blaster depending on how long yours has been on there. I did shoot the inside of that with some PB Blaster, but you know, pull the nut off, make sure again you don't lose it. And then it's time to use the tool. So, the way this tool works, and I've never used one of these, is first you've got two holes on either side of the main bolt that comes through. I've got to figure out which one of these. Okay, looks like that's the right size threading in there. Whoops. That's the right side there. So, what I'm going to do now, and I'll pause while I go do this, but I'm going to get the socket for this, which looks like it's about a 1/2 inch. And then there's the other, which is kind of the main part to all of this, is the center post that'll end up going and pushing on the main nut from the steering column. And see, it's got a nut, so I got to get, the hex head shape on it. So you get a socket that fits on this, a socket that fits on this bolt. So I'm gonna go do that, and then I'll be right back. I'm back. I got the sockets I need. So I was right that for this particular kit. Now this could vary from kit to kit. I don't know. I've never used one of these before. This happens to be a 1/2 inch for the bolts that'll screw into there, and then the big one that goes in the center is a 11/16 on this particular tool that I'm using. So I'm going to want to take and sorry, here. There. Sure. Probably don't get that attention. Here. No. Well, let's take those back out. So what I forgot, again, never using this, is there's a, looks like a attachment goes on the end of the main rod here. You use to push, and I want to use that because you see it's got that metal spike on the end. I don't want to mess up the thread, so pull this back off. I'm going to actually get an extension to make that easier to work with, and I'll be back once I get it all set back up on there. Okay, so I've got hopefully this thing on here right. I ended up having to go with the longer bolts that were in there to get everything to fit. So now, as far as I know, it should just be a matter of, you know, screwing this so that it pushes. What it's going to do is pull out on the steering wheel and push down on the bolt that goes to the main steering rod, column, whatever you want to call it down there, so that it's pushing down on the column that goes out to the steering box under the hood and up on the steering wheel. So hopefully, if I've got this right, there we go. The steering wheel came off, which is what we wanted. So now I'm going to pull this off, and we'll get into this mess down here. Okie doke. So back in here. So what I want to do is get this all out of here. Now this is the wire harness. It runs all the way down and then comes out down here. Now you will have on the end of that a connector that looks like this. Now because I've got the new wire harness, I don't really need to use this connector. If you buy a new wire harness that for the steering column that's going to plug into the original style wire harness, you will need to reuse this connector. And you'll need to pull these pins out, which is, I'm told, not very difficult to do. There's a couple of different videos out there showing you how to do it. Because I'm not reusing it, I just clip these off. I could pull the pins out later. Anyway, so it's up to you what you want to do with this and how you want to handle it. But just wanted to point that out. I just clipped it off. I've also gone ahead and tied some string here to this so I can pull that back through, and then hopefully have the string to pull the new wire harness back down through the channel without having to take all this stuff apart. That's the hope. Anyway, so I'm gonna get this out there. I see, looks like at least 3 screws in here, and then hopefully the thing should just slide out, but we will see. These are Phillips head screws. That one's, it's probably, let me get some needle nose pliers to help pull that out. If you had a magnetic screwdriver, it would be easy. Okay, back, got the needle nose, gonna go in there to grab the screw because I don't to use it. So we'll be reusing it. Now, the right here is where your turn signal. I forgot to say, you got to remove your turn signal rod, lever, whatever you want to call it, that is right there. And it just screws in. So just screw it out and it'll come right out pretty easy. I forgot to mention that, but anyway. Screw. So what I was saying, or what I meant to be saying, is this is your turn signal switch in here, and so this just rocks back and forth, and you're going to have to move it out of the way to get these screws loose. Screw. Loose all the way. Why are you being a pain? There we go. Loosen it all the way. And then screw. And now, I think, oh, there's a spring on the top of that. I'll pull that out. Should. That's all the. Of course, you know, I too watch videos on YouTube, and I do that, and they make this look like it's so easy that it just comes right out. I don't think I'm missing any other. Okay, the hard part is that wire harness doesn't want to come through. Whew. Okay, I want to fight with this for a while, and we'll come back when I'm done. Okay, so I've got the old one out, and I literally just yanked it through. It took a little bit of elbow grease to pull it through, but it came through. So I'm ready to look at running the new one, which I have right here. Now I've done some things. I've gone ahead and put electrical tape all the way around it up to the point. It did not have that originally. So I'm going to be hoping that that makes it easier to slide through, because the other one didn't have it. I've also gone ahead and run a snake, a wire snake, up through the column here. So what I'm going to end up doing is taping this to this, and I know that this has to go in like that, right? So I'm going to try to feed this through so it goes in that way. So I'm going to take that up real quick, and then we'll try to pull it through. Hopefully this works. Okay, I've got the harness through now. I'm going to tell you, this was, it went differently than any other thing I've ever done with wiring. None of the wire snake, the coat hanger I tried didn't work. Also, taping this wire harness up beforehand was more a hindrance than a help, because there's the slot that this goes in back here on the steering wheel, and I'll try to bring you over here, or at least take a picture, show you that is kind of flat. So the wires need to be able to flatten out some, and with tape they just don't get the room to do that. So it is important that you give them that chance. And so what I ended up doing is just taping all the ends together in a couple of different places so that they could push through without a problem. So I got it run through. So the next thing is to get it into place. Now this little brass, copper, whatever it is, piece here goes into where that's what the the turn signal lever screws into, and this over here is your hazard. So it's what your hazard button screws into. So that's, I've got to get those positioned on here, and then it just goes back the way you took it apart, right? Just goes back the same way. So we're gonna go ahead and call that a day. I've been fighting with this thing for an hour and a half, 2 hours. I even had to go back because I tried the painter's tape wasn't holding to either the snake or to the coat hanger I used. So I tried electrical tape, and honestly that boogered things up. It got residue all over the contacts. I had to go back in and pull it out and clean those contacts off to get the stickiness off of them, so that when I did get ready to plug things back in, it would work. So anyway, just a few lessons learned on all this. Apparently it's not good to take that up, which is different than any other thing. Anyway, get the idea. Hope you've learned a thing or two from this. This probably will end up being a short video when I'm done with it, but that's okay. So for a short video, this has been one of the hardest things I've done. But anyway, if you've liked what you've seen, learned a thing or two, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. If you had suggestions on better ways to do this, I'll happily take them, even after the fact. Maybe somebody else will learn from it. So with that, guys, we're going to call it a video, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Okay, I jumped the gun a little bit about ending the video. Did go ahead and get the connector put on. So for the new wire harness, that's just snapped in there. See, there we go. So that's all good, and as a result of that, I'll show you this. So if you look up there at the hood, turn signal, turn signal. Hazards are working. And you can see them back here working. And then you can see kind of down here, that one's working, and the one over on the far side is working too. I'm not going to carry you all the way over there. So wire harness on the steering column successfully installed and working. Now, one thing I do have to chase down is I still have a ground issue with the lights, because if I turn on the, let's turn off the hazards, turn on the headlights. The headlights come on, but you can see them flicker over there, and then, whoops, take you back here. See, I have no tail lights. Occasionally they will flicker, like I think if you see it right there. So I have a ground issue there I need to track down. So I've got a bad ground somewhere. I need to figure that one out, but that's okay. One step at a time. So again, continuing with some of the wiring. Very happy we've made progress. I haven't put the steering wheel back on, obviously, but wanted to show you all that. I'm going to also tape up that to make it prettier, so I don't have that all that colored wire hanging down. Make it black, it'll look better. So do that. With that, guys, we will call it a video now, and hope you enjoyed it. Again, learned a thing or two, you know, one more step forward. Anyway, with that, guys, we will see you in the next video.